right. So welcome. I'm so excited that you're here today and listening. I have got my little glass menagerie of fabulous people to introduce you to today. And I'm going to jump right in with the kind of an icebreaker to get us started. And I'm going to ask this question. And you all, when you're listening here, listen to whose voice is who so that you know who's talking today. So first I want to start off with, what's your favorite childhood cereal? And do you still eat it? Which is, I think, the bigger question. So Jody, you want to start us off?
Oh God. All right. So I had many favorite childhood cereals, but the most favorite was Cocoa Puffs because I
Oh,
love chocolate.
yes.
Alas, I have not eaten Cocoa Puffs since I was a kid. However, my husband and I did like this keto thing for a while. We got like super keto, and I found this company called Schoolyard Snacks, and
Yeah.
they had these like keto Cocoa Puff cereal.
Shut
And I
up.
bought like a vat of it, and it was not delicious at all.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Great. This is the opposite of a commercial for that. There you
Correct.
go.
Sorry.
Thank you, Jody. And Zinga, what about you? What was your favorite childhood cereal? And do you still eat it?
So my favorite childhood cereal, and it was a weird one because I found it through my grandparents, and I was like, this is good. I don't know why I like it, but Grape Nuts. I don't know if anyone remembers Grape Nuts. They brought it back.
It's the grandparents cereal, like that, and like Grape Nuts, the
It
grandparents
really is.
cereal.
And I knew, I was like, I am not supposed to like this. Why do I like this? And so I just recently found another brand by Ezekiel. So it's like barley, wheat, soy protein. And I'm like, this should be gross, but I love this so much.
Oh my God, that's adorable.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Got it. Wendy, how about you? Wendy Braun.
Hi. So, my favorite childhood cereal, it was kind of a two-parter, but I loved Captain Crunch, but it was literally like a once a year birthday cereal. Like I had that mom who was like sugar cereals were once a year. So I turned to like its cousin Golden Grams. And yes, I still eat Golden Grams from time to time and my kids eat it. So yeah.
Okay, so only because Wendy just said Golden Grams, I'm gonna fess up that Golden Grams was my favorite, and I definitely do not do it at all anymore. I do not have. I'm an intermittent faster, so I don't eat until noon every day. So I'm eating 12 to 8, and it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my it's not the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But at 11 o'clock, don't try to be my friend, is what I'll say.
And you have Golden Grams for lunch then.
Right, and I have Golden Grams for lunch. It's waiting for me. Right, exactly. Tony, how about you? Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Rossi, what's your favorite cereal?
Yeah,
Or your
so
childhood cereal? Sorry.
I had several, and Brian, I don't know if I'm pulling back the curtain too much on our pre-podcast conversation, but you said we don't have to agree on everything. And I am very triggered by breakfast cereals and how they market sugar to children. So the beginning of this conversation right here, where we're talking about healthier options and the Ezekiel brand that you had in Zynga, I am like, yes. And so I don't even want to give any positive airtime to these brands. But what I will do is, if you look all in the chat, and if you are listening, you want to DM me on Instagram, I will send you a link to a bunch of healthy breakfast cereals that are much better alternatives, because health is a very personal topic to me.
Tony Rossi taking the icebreaker to like the what is it? What did the Titanic crash into?
Iceberg.
Iceberg. Yeah, fully giving us the full iceberg. Yes. Amy, I saw your hand go up. Amy McNabb, ladies and gentlemen, what is your favorite childhood cereal?
Tony, this is where we're going to disagree. My 30th birthday was a slumber party theme. This was pre-pandemic. And we had a cereal bar. And so we had a bunch of different kinds of cereals from when we were kids, and you got to like pour them into bowls and like all the different kinds of milk and whatever. So we had Reese's Puffs, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Fruity Pebbles, and Lucky Charms.
The worst. You had all the worst, like
the best. Sugar. The word you're looking for is best.
Yeah.
So we did that and had all the candy and all the stuff. So like hard pass on the Ezekiel stuff. And all in for sugar. No, it's all good, but those were some of my favorites. I think Lucky Charms were probably my favorite, but we did actually, as an adult, let me tell you, everybody loved it. That was a hit of a party. You could do it. Like, yeah, it was a winner.
Totally. Love it. Tony, you want to respond? I would give you the mic for a second. Do you need to respond?
That's totally fine, because we're talking about this as a treat. That is what these should be for, not for breakfast. So Amy, I'm on board. I approve.
I'm glad.
Shannon Bills, will you take us home? What is your favorite childhood cereal?
Yes. So my favorite childhood cereal is Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I have a big family size box of it in my pantry currently. I also do intermittent fasting. And so I actually have cereal after dinner as a little treat. But I'm cracking up because in Zynga, I also have grape nuts in my pantry because I love those too.
Grape nuts was always like, what? Why are you called grape nuts? Can you please tell me, right? Like, why are you called grape nuts? It's like
Right.
the wheat germ of cereals.
Right. And
Right,
I'm
right.
allergic to nuts too. So when I send my husband grocery shopping, he always like has to second guess what grape nuts are because they're not nuts.
No.
No.
Good branding. All right, y'all. So now that we're all here, now that we've gotten past our breakfast, let's jump into really having a juicy conversation about where we're at, helping actors and serving them and how we can help them. And so this survival guide is coming out halfway through 2022. We have all come through times which will not be spoken of. And we know that things are up and down with all of those things. And with the trauma, drama, slowdown in the business, resurgence in the business, new ways we're relating to the business. I really wanted to do a check-in with some people who I think are at the top of their game in terms of helping and serving actors in this moment in their entire creativity. And so to get us started, I'll get us started. So what's one piece of advice that you really found yourself repeating for like the past 6 months? It's the beginning of the year. I always think of this as, this is the thing you would like to put on a billboard in Times Square or have a airplane paint across the sky so that every actor could see it. And I'll get us started. The one piece of advice that everyone don't hate me for this advice, but the one advice that I can say was like, be chill. It's okay. Be chill. Right. I used to have this friend who said, when she was dating a guy and she would be like, he's not texting me back and da, 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 da. She goes, be chill, girl. Be cool, bitch. Be cool, bitch. That's what she would say to herself. Be cool, bitch. Be cool, bitch. So that she could like let go of the attachment to how quickly he texted her back. And I'm not saying that's the perfect approach to dating. Let me just say, but I'm just saying maybe like the guy might be a douchebag. Right. But I think that the be cool piece of every actor in the world wants more auditions. And I believe that actors are entitled to a buttload of auditions. And if we just live from the scarcity or the lack mentality of not having enough, it does something really, it disintegrates a lot of our purpose at times. It can really get in and insidiously take away the normal good actions that you're taking inside of your career if you're only using that as a way to track momentum. And that is not to take away the desire for it to be something that inspires, I want to get more. Let me find some helpful actions, but driving from I'm not getting enough, I find to be something that's the thing that I've been repeating. And part of why I think it's this time of year, because I'm trying to focus this within the context of where we are in this year, is, we're recording this near the end of June. We are halfway through this year. We all know the summer is a weird time. Everybody likes to be a little more clocked out, including cast directors, writers, producers, directors, all the people, right? And so we see this like, is the business slow? Is it not slow? I don't know how to relate to the business right now. Who am I being? Should I go on vacation? I'm not allowed to go on vacation. Like those kind of conversations happening, right? So I saw Amy give a big eye roll there. So I would love to see, Amy, what is advice that you finding yourself saying over and over?
Okay, if every time I roll my eyes, you're gonna have to call on me a lot. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's just the vacation thing that I was rolling my eyes to because I want all actors to go on vacation. The thing that I'm repeating a lot right now is if they can do it, I can do it, is kind of a mantra that I'm trying to give a lot of actors, because I think right now a lot of shows are airing that people worked on, the ones who like were cast in 2020 or 2021 when things were shooting, or things are picking up in like the theater world. So more people are getting their breaks, like their big breaks or whatever. And I just have a lot of my clients just feel like they're behind. And I want to remind people, and this is something I learned from one of my friends, which was like, if they can do it, I can do it, especially if they're your peers. Like if they're someone you met in class, if it's like you're coming from the same pool, then it's possible for you too. And I think that envy really gets us sometimes. And, there's envy with coveting and envy without coveting. So it's okay to like be envious and to want what they have and to not take it from them. And so what I would love to paint on a billboard in Times Square is if they can do it, I can do it, because I think it should be more like when you're motivated by someone and inspired by someone instead of feeling like, oh shit, I'm behind, I'm never going to have that. So I just find that really encouraging, and I use it in my career all the time. So that's my thing.
That. And Amy, I love when you said without taking it away from them, because I think we can like have someone get something like, well, that's because it's because they look like this, they sound like this, they had this experience, they knew this person, and we take away their achievement in some way. We take away that it's just as possible.
And I think too, there's a lot of assumption that when you see someone who is succeeding in the way that you want to succeed, that they also feel the way you want to feel. And that's not necessarily true. And so I don't think we have to, break down anybody's achievement or like knock them down a peg. I just think recognizing like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. Stay on my road. Don't tear them down. You don't know what they're feeling. You don't know if they're grateful or not, or suffering or not. Like, you just don't know. And so don't make any assumptions, and instead just stay your course and use it as motivation and inspiration if you can.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Jody, I saw a little nodding head over there. What do you want to share with us? What's your big piece of advice you've been saying over and over?
Well, I loved everything that Amy said. First of all, I think that was wonderful. And I find I keep saying to my clients, remember your why. Like, why are you doing what you're doing? Look, we've been through a lot. And I think I've had some clients who just like put on their blinders and barreled through and kept going. And like, now they're exhausted. Do you know what I mean? And I had some clients who like relaxed for a while and now they're coming back. But I think either way, I think people are starting to feel a little discouraged because they're forgetting why they became an actor in the first place. What's motivating them to get out of bed every day to do these auditions and pursue this career? And I think when you forget your why, that is when we get bitter and jaded and envious or whatever it is, right? Because we don't know why we're doing it anymore. So of course it's hard. So I just keep having these conversations of, well, why is this important to you? Why must you do this career? So I think that when you know that, then I think everything else becomes easier, and then it's easier to control what we can control and let go of what we can't.
I love that. I love that. And part of what I love about you said that is, I think that when a lot of actors have had the experience of not being in a class or not being on a stage or acting with any other person besides their dang screen. And that's such an actor diet of what nurtures you. And I'm not saying everyone run out and get an in-person class. You have to move that at your own pace of what that feels comfortable to you. Mm-hmm. But I think what you're saying, of course, we're out of touch with our why, because we're not feeling ourselves in it as the way we used to relate to a difference. I think that's of course you're saying it over and over again. Wendy, what about you? What advice do you want to share with us that you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, to echo all of this, I think, and what I say to actors a lot lately is the solutions you are seeking are not in your angst, they're in your alignment. I guess that's the longer way of saying be chill, maybe. But when your action comes from that energy of fear and doubt and frustration, and as Amy said, jealousy, it's not going to result in success. If you're doing something because someone else did something, it's not even in alignment with, you don't even know what you want because you're looking somewhere else. So, and I think as a culture, we've been taught that taking massive action is the solution no matter what. And I think until you shift, and I've seen it so many times with my students, that shifting the inner game, the outer circumstances shift so much easier than you trying to make it all happen, which I spent my 20s trying to do. And that's how I've learned all this. So yeah.
I love that. And Zika, what about you?
Yeah, I would agree with what everyone said. I actually had this epiphany the other day. I was talking to my boyfriend and I was like, this is the third friend I've just mentioned is on a show. Whoa, this is more evidence to support my forward movement, right? And this is what is going to be everyone's normal. I'm sure Wendy's like, I can name off 5 people who are on shows right now who are my friends, right? And that's what we're moving towards. The thing that shows up for me that I end up repeating to a lot of actors, and I share it with them because had I known this 10 years ago, it would have saved me a lot of time. And the big thing is that you cannot change behavior at the behavioral level, right? So I was pure willpower, grit, affirmations, journaling. Why am I not doing it? Right? And I would go back to my old programming. And unless you're working at the subconscious level, right, where your habits and behaviors, limiting decisions, limiting beliefs reside, negative emotions, you're going to end up right back at square one, right? And so that is what I try to share with actors all the time, because it's not you, it's your programming, right?
Damn it, all to hell. That's the worst news. Okay, that's perfect. That's so good. So good. And I don't know if you guys have, I want to share, so many people have brought James Clear's work into the conversations that I'm having with them about atomic habits. Sometimes the word atomic habit seems a little bro marketing to me. So I just like to use the word habits, but I get why, because they have exponential, right? But the idea of a habit instead of a goal has changed so many people's relationship. I've just noticed that. I'm sorry, Shannon, I didn't mean to steal your thunder. I was coming to you next. Shannon, what did you want to share?
Not at all. No, I'm loving this conversation. And it's funny, this is not what I'm about to touch upon, but I think social media is my biggest trigger. And I look at half of you guys who I've been following for so long, and like, I'm looking at my triggers, and I always would get this, I'm not doing enough. Oh my gosh, Wendy Brown just posted an ad. Oh my gosh, Jody has these amazing emails. Oh my gosh, like I'm seeing all these cool, clever reels from everybody. And
Don't stop.
And Brian.
Yeah, but it's just interesting. All that is coming up internally right now for me. But I think the thing that I would be telling everybody, what I keep repeating, is releasing the timeline. I think it's really easy for us to get really caught up in the I'm not where I want to be energy. I think we can say that all the time, but on a internal vibrational level, everything is now. There is no time. We're not separate from that energy that we want to be in. And so our physical world, it just takes a little bit longer to play catch up. And I just like to remind everybody of that. And I feel like if you can understand that time is just an illusion, especially in an industry where you could be a newborn baby or 100-year-old working as an actor. I mean, there's no time there, right? So you become more free when you can release the time from everything.
I love that so much. I also think that relates, I don't know if you guys relate to this, but I think the moment that the why that Jody was talking about, the moment you're aware of your why, time disappears for you. Like, I think that we can all go back to like when you were 12 years old or 8 years old or 35 years old, and you were like, oh my God, this is the thing I'm meant to do. Like, time was not part of that conversation in your head. It was because it doesn't exist. And I think that's such a powerful like shot to get out of your stuff. Tony, take us home. What about you? What advice are you finding yourself repeating?
I'm saying no to a lot of things right now. It's funny, at the beginning of this, I was joking about, those stupid cereal brands, but to show you how serious I take this, and going back to, I think it was either Wendy or Jody talking about staying in alignment with your values. I got a commercial audition at the beginning of this year for a very popular candy company. And I confirmed it, and I said yes, and then I told my agent yes. And then 24 hours later, I went back into casting networks and I declined it, because I realized this brand had some chemicals that really pissed me off that shouldn't be in our food. Now, on the one hand, again, I'm not about I'm wearing a shirt that says #NotPerfect on it. I'm all for having things and foods that bring us joy. At the same time, we're in a pandemic and we're not talking about nutrition, and that is very triggering to me. So I emailed my agent and I said, hey, I know this is gonna kind of screw us a bit financially, but for any of these types of foods, I'm not going to audition for them. And I realized that's shutting me down from like 60% of the commercial auditions out there. So I guess the advice that I'm repeating to actors over and over, particularly, this is a really common theme with my clients, and I wouldn't be surprised if any of you on this call are also talking to actors about this, is just I talk to so many actors who are not happy with the way that they're doing things, and they're auditioning for things that they don't want to be auditioning for, whether the project isn't in alignment with their values, or it's just not a project that brings them joy. And they think that they have to be at a certain place in their career to say no. And I was like, what if we just started that way now? So I'm a big fan of saying no, Brian.
I love that. And I also think it's the most powerful and the most attractive word in the language that we have. It attracts in what you want, right? And I also think that what you just said is so important. I can't say no to anything until. I can't say no anything until is very like when you're saying no to something, you're saying yes to something else. So even though you said like maybe this cuts me off of 60% of the jobs I thought of like, oh, what about the 60% of the jobs you're going to get to attract in now because you said no to that, right? This is not. I don't think everyone should say, I'm never doing anything ever again. I want to make sure that's not the advice that I'm saying, because then don't be an actor. Right. But I think that being discerning around your no is really, really, I think, a gift for a lot of us. I think a lot of us have a hard time. I mean, I have a hard time saying no, right? Like, it is one of the most difficult emails I have to ever write is when someone's like, can I coach with you tomorrow at 3:00? And I'd be like, I don't have time tomorrow. I'm sure whatever's going on inside of your head is a nerve-wracking, I need it now. This is an acting emergency. I'm sure you guys have had experiences like that with your clients, right? And it's hard to say no in that moment. So kind of leading into this next question I wanted to talk about is the one that it doesn't make me want to barf. I'm actually quite comfortable with it, which is the word network, which is networking. Lots of people want to barf when they hear the word networking. And I have all kinds of reasonings why I think that's true. So I'm going to kind of sit back for a minute, but I think that now that we're going to see more in real life events, fingers crossed, knock on wood, all the things, we are going to get to the theater, like you said, Amy. We're going to be able to connect with people. Maybe we'll go to an audition room once in a while for a callback. Who knows, right? I wanted to ask you, like, what are you telling your actors around making sure that those connections can stay real, or to get the most out of those things? Or is that something you're talking about at all? And I saw Shannon. I'm going to come right to you because you're nodding your head.
Yeah, I'm a head nodder. I always have fear. Like, I was so nervous for this. And the thing is, I just pushed through it. I think it's so important to put yourself out there. And in the end, you're always going to be glad that you did, but it's not comfortable by any means. So I think that it's definitely going to require pushing through fear, but don't be afraid to introduce yourself. I did a live event a few weeks ago in Chicago. And after the event, only about 4 people came up to me and the rest kind of shied away in the corner. And I just think it spoke so much about where they were at with their mindset. And so I think if you can be that person to just kind of work through the fear, be brave enough to just say hello to somebody, and always lead with the energy of, hey, what can I give this person instead of what can I get from this person? I think if you can just shed any desperate energy away, that's always really good too.
Great. I love that, Jenna. And also I love you get that firsthand experience. I think that's really telling for a lot of us to have been in a room recently.
Yeah.
What about you and Zinga? I saw a little head nod over there.
I go back to my father. I was really, really lucky. I have an amazing dad. And I remember being 11, stepping over one of the first books he gave me on the way to school, which was How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? I was just like stepping over it on my way to school.
How old were you? Wait,
11. Okay. He given that to me like at 9.
Oh, that's a good dad.
My dad's amazing.
Or what kind of 9-year-old was in Zinga? It's like, you need to read this book, girl.
Right. You need to get it together. You're going to be in a world of hurt. Right? So one of the things that I go back to is we're actors, right? We love the human experience. One of the best things you can do is really be curious, really being interested in that person's journey, right? What they're about as humans. You're really looking for, and the reason why I brought up How to Win Friends and Influence People is because you're looking for the mutual connection, right? Where is a point that y'all overlap? So if the said casting director that you're talking to is a dog owner and you happen to be a dog owner too, oh my God, great. Instant connection. Let's go down that road, right? And there's no pretense. It's just literally sharing from a place of love and joy and genuine connection. And that's what I talk about when we're talking about network. It's like, go open, curious, have fun. You're meeting your like new best friend tonight. It's probably going to show up, right? Yeah. I love being around actors because I literally don't find me anywhere else but in a room of actors. Our casting directors, the most interesting, creative, multifaceted humans. So I'm like, oh my God, I get to be around like-minded people. Let's go. Let's have fun. Let's just see what happens, right? And you can treat it as an acting exercise.
Yeah.
What can I learn today about the human experience?
Right. I love that. Jody, I saw that hand go up.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off everything Nzinga said. You just took all the words out of my mouth. I tell my clients all the time, be curious. Just be curious about other people, because curiosity leads to connection. Because when we're not curious and we're stuck in ourselves and how do I look and am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? That's where we get hung up. So I think that curiosity leads to connection. Then it is about finding that merge with someone. And you know what? You might not have a merge with someone. Someone might be talking about textiles and you're like, I don't give a shit about textiles. Okay, great. So they're not the person for you. I don't know. Right. I don't even know what I just said. Right. So the goal is to find a merge, but you might not find it, but you won't know until you try. And the thing I also tell my clients is you got to remember that people love to talk about themselves like they do. So if you can ask people questions, that's the best icebreaker. Don't come up and try to say something clever about who you are and what you do and what's going on. Just ask them a human question. Even what are you binge watching? I mean, how many times have we asked that question over the past 2 years? Like just something that people will feel seen and heard. And I think our job as humans, as actors, as artists, is to allow people to be seen and heard. I know I want to be seen and heard. So I think if you can approach it in that regard, it just makes it more fun, like Nzinga was saying.
Amy,
and I want.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, Jody, go for it.
No, you go. No, you go.
You guys, we're really polite coaches, just in case you didn't. That's one other quality we wanted to make sure you know about us. Jody, before I move to Amy, though, was there something else you wanted to say?
I disagree. No, I'm kidding. No, I just wanted to say, I just think the biggest thing about these events as they're starting back up is just to remember to follow up and to follow up immediately. And send them an email the next day of just, oh, it was just so lovely chatting about textiles. I really would love to know more. Let's go out for coffee. Whatever it is, right? Just really following up right away so you don't end up with that stack of business cards on your desk at the end of the month and you don't remember who anybody is.
Great.
I think it's really important to put that follow up into action immediately.
Great. I love that. I love that. Amy, well, you're waving that hand.
Oh, well, I was going to say, first of all, this call is such a vibe because like 90% of us are mindset coaches. So it's like so aligned and I'm here for it. Like, we're all just like, do you like, please, like really just like be yourself. And I just dig it so hard.
Wait, I just wanted, just because you said that, if you guys are listening to this on the podcast, I encourage you to head over to YouTube to see the faces that I see right now, because they are gleefully sharing this information with you. And they're so happy to have this conversation. So I hope you're enjoying it.
It's so good. Well, so the reason I wanted to like hop in here is that Jody, something you said is like, you might not match up with someone. And I think that that's really good to point out, because to me, it's like when you're networking or building relationships or whatever, it's like, talk to the person you're drawn to. And like, I don't think actors realize that like, they don't have to talk to everybody. Like, you want to build genuine relationships with these people. And I think the second part of that is being very clear about what kind of relationship it is. Like, so for example, there's a person in our friend group who's a casting director, and it's like, you got to be clear that it's like, there's work mode and personal mode, and to respect them, because I think a lot of people in the industry wear multiple hats, right? And so sometimes they're in positions of quote power, and they feel like they don't get genuine relationships with people because everybody wants something from them. And so I just think it's important, like across the board, to connect with people who feel good to you, right? Like if there's somebody who's a jerk, like that's the end of that. Like, let's just call it, right? Like, you don't have to work with assholes. Sorry, I don't know if we're allowed to swear.
You have to be cool, bitch. You have to be cool.
Amen.
Girl.
Yeah, you have to like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to be cool, bitch. I love that. So it's like, I think it's just, remembering that like, you're not going to align with everybody. You're not going to like be besties with everybody, but there's probably somebody in every room that you're going to adore, and that you might have a mutual respect for, and that you can give something to, and they can give something back. So I just think that's why it's such a long haul of a career. One of the reasons is it's building relationships. I hit my microphone. It's building relationships over time. It's not just like that one person can make or break my career in that one moment. It's like, no, I want to get to know you, and I want to see what you're like. And if like we make sense, especially with representation and stuff like that. So I think just like recognizing you don't have to talk to everybody. You don't have to like everybody, and just, defining the relationship on your end so that you're respectful of everybody that you talk to.
Right. I love that about them. I love what you said about multiple hats. I'm sure all of us, like, I fall in love with all of my clients. I was like, you want to go to lunch? Yeah, totally go to lunch. Like, I feel like very much like I want to be with them.
Yeah.
And also like, don't want to be a coach part of the time, but also I love coaching. So I definitely want to be a coach part of the time. So it's hard not to want to talk about coaching. Right. So that boundary is something that I try to help with establishing.
Yeah.
I don't know that this helps anyone at all when it comes to networking, but I think the way that it relates to what Amy said is when you're meeting that person to stay social, I guess, stay social, not biz. No one's interested in like biz. Let's talk about the business the entire time. Like there's so much more than what we are. There's so many more facets to who we are.
Yeah. And I have a client who's an actor and does casting. Right. And so like we were talking, and she was like, I feel like I don't have any relationships where somebody doesn't want something from me. And I'm like, that sucks. Like, that sucks for you. Like, that's not a fun way to exist. And so if you as an actor can be genuinely interested, like other people have said, like genuinely interested in this person and just see how you match up. I think that's just so much more authentic and kind. And like Jody said, like that's how we're supposed to show up as humans, not just actors.
Totally. Tony, you want to join this conversation?
Yeah, I think that the reason actors, and maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I think the reason we don't like the word networking is because we hear the word schmoozing. None of us want to schmooze. Like, okay, there's like 1% of the actors out there who are okay with schmoozing. The rest of us, we hate schmoozing. We hate selling. That's not the business we got in. So don't do what all of us are talking about. You know, so I live in Chicago, and when I first moved to Chicago, Brian, I had everything planned out. I had the apartment, I had the job. I got there and I realized, oh shoot, I forgot about making friends. And I was 22 at the time, and I didn't know anybody. I knew my aunt and my uncle who lived on the West Side, who I would see like once every couple months, but I didn't know anybody, and I was so lonely. And so I started going to a lot of places by myself, and I got used to going to places by myself. I just wanted to make a damn friend.
Right.
And to this day, even though I have plenty of friends in Chicago now, every time I go to an event, I just want to make a friend. Now, yes, at certain events in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, so I know that casting director. Yeah, of course I'm thinking that. But I want to make friends. And I think, and I don't know if any of you all have noticed this, ever since I started coaching, it is so much easier to make friends with these decision makers than it was when I was just an actor. Now, I know, I'm sorry, that's not helpful advice to hear if you're an actor listening to this. You're like, well, I don't have a business. So you can still take the friend aspect from this.
Well, Tony, I think Tony, what you just said is that what I find is when you have this other thing that you do, whether that's being a coach for actors or gardening in your backyard, you have a freedom that you're. I can talk about something else, and I can talk. I give myself permission to talk.
Actors are so much more interesting when we talk about things that other than acting.
Yeah.
Like, because we all hate the question, like, so what have you been working on lately? Maybe we don't always hate the question, but we don't, that's a question where if we're not working on something, we're like, yeah, I don't know. So to Brian, to your point, like, yeah, so talk about things other than acting. Those are my favorite things to talk about sometimes.
Somebody I know recently answered that question, like, what are you working on lately, with my joy. And I was like, excuse me? Like, I was like bowled over. So I just want to say, like, you can be without that quick answer, like working on, like, what are you working on? I'm working on being happier in my life post-pandemic. Thank you. Like, and how, like,
everyone
that
gets
question.
Wait, I think you sound a little bit like a dick. My joy.
I know, that's the problem. Don't end it with a period.
Like,
I'm not recommending.
Kind of amazing at the same
not
time.
recommending that response, but I did find it entertaining. Totally. But yeah, like, you know, you're allowed to talk about the stuff that's making you happy. Like, yeah, my joy.
Wendy, did you want to give a chance to chime in here?
You know, to just complete this awesome conversation, or to bring it full circle, I think, you know, what everyone's kind of saying is like, be interested versus trying to be interesting. I know on the what else you do, there's a casting director, when I used to go in her office, all we would talk about was succulents and succulent gardening, right? And she always had a thing, and we would we like started DMing each other pictures and links and whatever. And so when you realize, like, this person casting has a full life, you know, do you know that there's a casting director who is like an amazing chef, and all she posts is like her cooking. Like, there's ways, whether it's in person or online, that you can get to know the person that is the opportunity maker versus just trying to get it to be about you. The other thing I want to say that sort of piggybacks what Jody says, but if you can kind of remember this as a thought, is the coupon expires. So if someone says, you know, hey, you know what, it's great to meet you. And they're not saying, call me, we'll go to lunch. They're just saying, yeah, it's great to meet you. We'll connect, or I'll see you later, or whatever it is. Even if they don't say that, you can continue. Don't wait 3 months to reach out. Start, you know, connecting with them in whatever way you do. And in doing that, in engaging with them, be interested in them and what they have going on. So you're seeking to give and connect versus trying to get.
I love that. I love that. Jody, did you have my tip of your tongue, Jody?
I was like, yeah, I just love when Wendy talks. Yes, Wendy. But adding to that, it's like, I think when you reach out, it's like, people are pitched to all the time. I can't imagine being a casting director and how many emails I get of us and actors pitching them. Or even like when I produce a project, the amount of emails I got from like high school friends being like, I knew you in high school. Can you cast me in your movie? I'm like, what is happening? Like, and I'm nobody, you know? Right. So I can't imagine what the industry gets. So just remember that when you want to send an email. Like I always say, be human for at least 2 months before you pitch, you know, like build a relationship that there's no, going back to Shannon, there's no timeline except the one you create for yourself. Yeah. So we all want it tomorrow, but be human to get it. Be sincere to get it.
I love that. And I wanted to just say something that what Jody said, and both Wendy said this as well, as around the following up. And I say like, I want you all to think of yourselves as a Victorian lady in Downton Abbey who drops off her calling card every time she stops at someone's house. So the second you meet someone, you immediately send a thank you the next day, because it is your job, because you have good freaking manners. It has nothing to do with your feelings. It has nothing to do with the business. It has nothing to do with the right thing to say. It has to do with, I have great manners. So when I meet a new person, I drop them my calling card, which is saying, it was lovely to meet you last Saturday night. Or blah, blah, blah. And I just, that is my rule, because I have good freaking manners. I'm a big manners freak, just so you guys know. Like, and I say, think of yourself as a Victorian lady, the one piece. And the other thing that I wanted to share, that I wanted to say about this is, when you're at an event, I think that we're often drawn to whatever, who's on the panel, or like, what's the event about, right? And I think that God, universe, Buddha, Oprah, whatever you believe, draws you to that event, right? That draws you, so that the person sitting next to you is the God-given gift for you, is the universe-given gift. So that you are there with that like-minded person. And so I always say, like, the person next to you is the person you're meant to meet. The person on stage, sure, maybe, but you're drawn there to meet the person next to you. That's how that person ended up in the seat next to you. And the other piece about that is, and I think one way that I like to just grab onto this is, when you're having those moments, like, be curious and like be interested and not interesting, sometimes I think it's helpful to go, be the best wing person anyone there has ever had. So the person you just met, you're going to say, oh, this is my friend Kelly. Have you met? This is Steve. He just told me he works at ABC. He does this. I thought you guys met interested. Like, and like, I have watched people do that and been like, oh, this person spoke nothing about themselves, and they were the most interesting person in the room, because they were just being the anti-meme. Go watch anti-meme, everyone. You know how to network, right? Rattlesnake, it's filled with proteins, right? Just go like that. That's who I want to be. And the last piece that I want to give, the last piece of advice that I want to give is, you can't be cool and be a good networker. You have to be willing to show emotion, right? And what I mean by cool is like don't be Kanicki. We're not trying to be Kanicki, right? Don't be Danny Zuko. We need to be Sandra Dees.
Sandy before the hot outfit, right?
Yes,
Sandy right?
Before,
kind
right?
of,
Right? Yeah,
like
kind
not
of,
as, you know,
a little naive-ish, or like willing to show your enthusiasm. Because if you're going to be curious, you have to be willing to show enthusiasm. I just want everyone to just think for a second what it is like when someone leans in and says, tell me a little bit more about that. That's such a gift you can give someone. And so that language is something anybody wants to jot down and grab. That's a great way to just, like, if you don't know what to say, well, tell me more about that. There you go. Just say that over and over.
Love that.
Right. Tony, you got something you want to drop in this?
Yeah, just to follow up on your point about the person sitting next to you, I went to a workshop a few years ago where the casting director of Steppenwolf was going to be at, and I was building a relationship with him. To this day, he knows who I am, but I've yet to get cast in a show at Steppenwolf. But I did meet at that event the person sitting next to me, who is now my agent, and she remembered me from that event.
Yes, that's awesome. So awesome. And wait, one more little sneaky trick. Make sure, if you want to go to the event where the directors, writers, and cast directors are going, don't go to the event where the actors are going. Like, go to the one that they're going. So if they're going to, if the directors are going to go to a producer's event, go to that event. Like, if you're really trying to be a little bit calculated about it, then that's one way to think about it. I also think the right people are going to show up whatever event you're attracted to. So, like, you're going to meet this person at a conversation around succulents panel. You're going to meet the person.
You never know.
So one of the tracks that I think we probably all run on as coaches for actors is actors saying, I want more auditions. I want more auditions. We talked about this a little bit earlier. And so what's your advice when an actor says, I want more auditions? Where do you go first in that conversation? And then I would also say, like, what advice do you find like actually brings some good results? So I know some of us might have similar answers here, so we can just build on top of each other here. But I'm going to come to you, Jody, because you're in the middle right now. Is that okay?
Great. Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh, we get this question all the time, right?
Right?
This is the end all be all question.
And
So
wait,
the
Jody,
first,
sorry, can I give it a little context? I'm so sorry to
yeah,
interrupt you, but to give it context, just as we're at the midpoint of 2022, just kind of
yeah,
noticing the landscape right now and see if this advice has changed or tweaked it a little bit. If you can just kind of lean into that for those of us who
got
really
it.
kind of get timely on this. And it
Got
might not
it.
have changed. I want to be
Yeah.
really obvious about that it may be like, nope, this is still it. This is still the way you do it, people. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, look, there's multiple answers to this question. I think when people come to me, the first thing I always do with people, other than mindset stuff, is branding. Like that's what I'm known for. It's what I've been doing for 13 years as a coach. So when someone says I'm not getting enough auditions, the first thing I say is, well, do you know your brand? Is it clear? Are you clear on who you are? Right? Because if you're not clear on who you are, no one else is going to be clear on who you are. So that's really where I start, and for me that hasn't changed, quite honestly, because I think knowledge of self and who you want to be in this business, and the legacy you want to leave in this business, and the story, knowing the stories you want to tell, but also how you're perceived and the themes and all of that you want to do. It's so important to know that and to take ownership of that. Going back to talking about what we can control and what we can't control, you can control how you present yourself in this industry. And I'm not talking about putting an armor on. For me, branding is about peeling away the armor and peeling away those onion layers to allow people to see who you are. But it allows you to take control of how you're presenting yourself. So if you want more auditions, know thyself. Know thyself deeper than you think you need to, because everyone has an idea of who they are, right? We all have an idea, right? But it's about doing the deeper work to really understand, but who am I at my core? What are the themes I'm drawn to? What are the stories that I tell better than anybody else? Yeah. And then how does that match with the perception of who you are? Right. And then packaging that, right. And then making that be apparent in all of your marketing tools. And I mean, since I started coaching in 2008 until now, it's like, I see how that changes people's careers. Like I just had a client who was in one of my mastermind groups, and he had to quit the mastermind group after 3 months because he did all the branding work and the packaging work, and he got so many auditions, he couldn't even show up, and so many bookings. I was like, go, fly,
this is what we did.
fly, soar, you know? But it's that deep knowledge of self that brings confidence, right? And the second guessing goes away. Yeah. And it's so hard to have a career when we're second guessing everything.
And I just had that came up for me, and I'm going to get to everybody. Everyone's going to chime on this because y'all have thoughts about this. But I always think about, when you make a cookie and you put in the oven and then it becomes like a blob. Like you use a cookie cutter and then it kind of still looks like a snowman, or it kind of still looks like a boot or whatever it is. And I always feel like sometimes in our idea of what we're putting into the world is the cookie cutter, but we have to remember it's going through the perceptive ovens of everyone's brain. And so getting it so clear is such a different story than like thinking it's kind of clear, because you're also going through other people's eyeballs, ears, the stories they're bringing, all of the stuff that they have to do. So that clarity is something I think the way you said that, Jody, about your client is like, you need someone else to be part of this conversation, right? Whenever a client asks me about this, I go, can we get some strangers' eyes on this? Let's see what some strangers say about this. Cause this is a bunch of strangers are going to be looking, what are their opinions of this? Right. So I just love that as a place to go. And Zinga, you were, I feel like nodding that head. Like,
yes, my head nod. Yes, I totally agree with Jody. Totally agree with Brian. It's really comes down to knowing thyself. But I did Sam Christensen, rest in peace. I did his program, and it was very much, you got to have that outside perception.
Yes.
I will tell you, when actors come to me with this question of how do I get more auditions, or the problem is more auditions, I always dig deeper, because I was at that place where I was like, I thought the problem was more auditions, but generally I'm like, yeah, but this is a mindset coach. You came to me. What's really happening underneath? Why is the audition thing such the problem? Is there more there? So I get super curious and dig and dig and dig. Generally, what we start to see is that they're actually not happy how they're showing up in auditions. Okay, why aren't you showing up? How are you showing up in auditions, right? Then there's a confidence issue, or there's imposter syndrome, or yada, yada, yada. Where did that come from? Go back years and years ago. Oh, this happened when my dad used to say this to me, right? So there's always this deeper rooted thing into the audition issue. For me, I really don't want 20 random auditions to come my way that I'm not right for. I would rather 5 really awesome auditions that are perfect for my type or my brand. And I think that's what actors are really wanting, right? So getting clear on the brand, but what's really happening, because you as an actor should be feeling good no matter how many auditions you're getting per week, no matter what your booking rate is. So I dig deeper to say, what's really there that's really kind of in the way of your happiness or in the way of you showing up as your most authentic self. And generally there's something else there.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Love
Shannon,
it.
I saw the hand go up. Shannon, you want to jump in?
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say something similar to what Nzinga said. I always give the analogy of a runway and a plane. And I say that if the plane is the blessing, the more auditions, the desire that you want to land on the runway, but the runway is filled with all these limiting beliefs, but also a lot of actors are in these day jobs that are really draining, and they don't actually have the time and the energy to take on more auditions. So if that's all blocking the runway, the plane can't land. So that is something that I always have my students do, is clear that runway so more auditions can land. So you can align yourself with the perfect audition that is right for you. But the other answer I have for you, because I was a casting associate for 8 years, I think that, yes, going off of what Jody said, like absolutely make sure your materials are a direct reflection of who you are and the roles that you want to play. But also at the same time, I think one, continue building that connection with casting directors, get out there in front of them. But my other thing I always say is have your reps make those connections too, because when I was in casting, we would always kind of favor the agents and managers that we were friends with. Like that is something I saw at the office I was at for 7.5 years, and then another office before that. And I think that, yes, it's mostly like a you job, but I think the reps that you were aligning with, they should be getting you in doors that you can't get in on your own as well.
Great. That's great. I think that they gave a lot of freedom to a lot of people when they heard that. It's like, it's not an only you job, at least a little bit. Right.
Right.
I think that's also a place where people need permission to speak to their reps about a conversation like this, is instead of like, I'm not getting enough auditions. Should we look at my headshot? Should we look at my reel? And the actor's spinning their wheel of like, let me come up with all the reasons why. So I don't know why I'm having this meeting, because I just told you all the reasons why I'm not getting enough auditions, or I believe I'm not. We leave no space for the rep to do their job.
Totally.
Which I think is like such like, say I'm having an issue and shut your mouth is my other favorite thing. Like I'm having a question, or I have a little bit of curiosity around like, is this the number of auditions I should expect? I want to make sure I'm not out of line here. And I know my only way of judging this is numbers. And I know you're looking at so many other factors to see how it's going. Like, are they sometimes saying no to me? Are they saying this? Like, I would love to know. So I set my expectations, and so that I'm really on the side of what it's like to be at your desk, because I think that's such a weird spot for an actor to say, where are the receipts? Where are the receipts? That's the only place where an actor knows how to, or the easiest place for an actor to look.
Totally.
Yeah. Wendy, I saw some violent head nodding.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm nodding with all of you guys. Everything you're saying is great. I love the plane and the runway analogy. So I'm a visual thinker, so I totally get that. And, to piggyback all of this on both the mindset and the practical, because I combine both. I'm like, okay, great. That's great. But now what do I do? Like, how do I get more auditions? Okay. So, and even in talking to your agent, what Brian said, it's like, first you have to have, crystal clear clarity, right? As Jody said, knowing exactly what you play and knowing exactly what specific genres you want to play in, like what lights you up, not just what you're right for, but what lights you up and are you right for it? So I would have that marry both. And then in a practical sense, narrow that focus, make a specific list and connect with like 5 casting directors in that genre. Let your agents know, I would like to meet these 5 casting directors. I would like them to know who I am. And then instead of saying, I want more auditions, you're saying, I want to book a great co-star or recurring or guest star or whatever it is on a single camera comedy that shoots in Atlanta, if you're in Atlanta or whatever. Like, you can't just say, you can say, I just want more auditions, but why not narrow it? Are there any comedies shooting in Atlanta? If you want to, you're like, know what's going on in the business, and then like get out IMDb and figure it out. Like reverse engineer what you want to work on, who casts it. Do you know them? Like that's pretty simple math. And then now you can take specific action to help yourself and to empower your agents. And then I would say, if you've done all that, any actor who's listening, just plan a vacation and you'll get more auditions.
Yes, exactly. There you go. You've done all that and you planned your vacation.
Exactly.
Perfect. It's over. Tony, you were getting itchy in your seat just now. What did you want to say?
Yeah. I to go off with what Wendy said, I think we forget to look at our goals and how the auditions align with those goals. Now, yes, we could pick this conversation apart and we could say, oh, I'm not getting auditions for the specific goal that I have. But I think when we're talking about the concept, generally speaking, of more auditions, and this has been said a couple of times now, more auditions might not be getting us towards that goal. In fact, some of those auditions, going back to what we were saying before, might be taking us away from that goal. If
that
we
right
think
there,
about it,
can we just underline that right there? I just need to underline
Yes.
that right there, because
Yes.
the desire to get auditions is some sick, perverse form of validation that says,
Mhm.
I'm meant to be in this business. I'm not saying it's wrong that you have that desire to have, right? Like to just get more auditions. What you just said, Tony, is so important because it could take you away from devoting yourself to, I'm really working on bringing my sexuality into my work right now, or I'm really working on finding the power in the scenes that I'm working on in acting class right now. Let me go do this dipshit's audition who's auditioning in their mom's garage because at least I got an audition and I'm going to go, is so not aligned with, you are an artist who deserves to do their art and give their art the kind of attention that they want. So I needed to underline that and get on a soapbox there, Connie, because I want to be so protective of people's energy. That just comes back to what you said earlier about saying no to things, Tony. I think that's so important. So I'm tossing the mic back, but just wanted to jump in.
Yeah, no, thank you for emphasizing that. I mean, again, I think a lot of actors are saying yes to, and I get that there's another piece of this conversation. They're like, no, Tony, I want the auditions for the specific goal. We'll get to that. But I think a lot of us are saying yes. A lot of us are saying yes to things that aren't necessarily in alignment with our goals. If our goal is to be a full-time actor, then hell, one commercial audition could get you that. And you know, if we really take this conversation deeper and go into the union versus non-union conversation, I realize there's so much more to say than just like making it simple like that. But just like one union commercial audition could get you like the income that you're looking for. Now, I realize a lot of us want more than just that, but I think the more is not necessarily in alignment with the goal for some of us.
I love that. And I also think that's important that, you know, like, are you on an actor diet? I always say, like, is the only place you're getting your nurturance from a workshop or an audition? And are you never painting in the field, Van Gogh style, and having a nice time? This is before things go awry with Van Gogh, right? So like, are you painting to paint? right. Are you painting to paint, or are you painting because it's going to be hung in a museum? Are you painting because you know it's going to be for sale? And I think there needs to be some nutrition of acting to act, of acting because it's meant to be. And that's an easy one. I think a lot of actors do that already. I don't want to dismiss that, but I think it's an easy one to be like, I can't afford class right now. And then 2 months go by and you're feeling kind of crappy. Like, oh, when's the last time you acted? Oh yeah. For myself, it's been quite a while. Amy, I want to give you a chance here.
I'm so grateful I'm going last because there's so much wisdom before me talking that I'm just, yeah, we covered such a beautiful gamut of mindset. Like, and Zinga, like, I resonate with that so much, where it's like, let's get down a little bit deeper, especially if there's this like desperation behind it. It's that like shaky, like I'm wound up, like I just need more auditions and I'll be fine. And it's like, no, honey, I don't think that's what's going on. Right. And so there's such power in being able to dive into that. And then I'm so grateful for the practical things that, you know, Wendy said and Shannon said. And I think too, that question of like, how do I get more auditions? It depends on where you are. There's like union, non-union, New York, LA, Chicago, theater, voiceover, TV, film. They're all so different. And to me, you know, I tend to pass my clients to people who can do the branding, who can do the technical stuff, and say like, well, this is the logistical stuff that like you will need if you don't have that. But to me, it's just like, I just agree that it's, why are you asking for more? You know, is it because you want the validation like you were talking about, or is it, or like, are you really in a spot where it's like, yeah, I'm ready. I've got everything. And I just know that I need like a few more opportunities in order to increase, you know, the percentage of booking. And so, yeah, I always kind of just go to, why are you asking the question? And then go from there and point them and point my clients in a direction based on what they need. And the last thing I was going to say was like, I got emotional when you were talking to Tony, because I just also feel for the actors who are like fresh out of school or like brand new in the industry. And I just remember that feeling of like, give me anything to tell me that it was okay that my parents spent that money on college, or that I spent this money on my reel, or and that feeling of just being like lost without resources and just hoping that one audition can change the way you feel is so hard. And it just made me really grateful to be on a call with these people. And I know, Brian, like you provide so many resources for actors as does everybody here. And it's just so important because I just think that this is not about auditions. I went off on a tangent, but actors are so
great.
like, they're
Great
just
tangent.
so, they're just so like, we are so heart-centered. We want this career because we love it, and it just matches up with something in our souls. And so I just feel for the people who are just starting on the grind and they're looking for any answer. And I'm just so grateful to be on a call full of answers. Like these are the people who can help guide when you feel lost, whether that's in the middle of your career or the very beginning, when you're just like kind of desperate for some validation that you made the right choice with your life. So
yeah, I love that. And Amy, what I want to say that you said that, I think I want to make sure everyone hears this from all of us. I think you guys will agree with this, which is it is okay to notice you're not getting like a fair hand of auditions. Like there's data to collect. And oh, you know what? I'm like not getting any, like, whoa, let me at least turn back and like, look at like, is my house in order a little bit? And the house in order doesn't just mean to-do lists, email, newsletter, postcard, blah, blah, blah. It also means, let me go in the basement. Like Nzinga's talking about, is like, what's my foundation here? What did like, what is this, or am I bringing all my baggage to these numbers? Or am I actually looking at this from a data, not drama position, which I think we've all heard somewhere before, right? So like, if I look at this, and so I think I want to make sure that and no one is hearing from any of us, like, if you ever want more auditions, you're wrong. That's not what any of us are saying. We're saying look deeper and be mindful of like, is this a number that I can actually learn something from?
And I love the house thing because it's like, yeah, look in the basement, look at the foundation. And also what Shannon talked about, like, look at the outside. How does it look? Who are your reps? How are they talking to people? Like it's every aspect of the house. And that means there's always more in our control to try and do. So that's really good news. But I just agree with you on that, Brian.
I'm going to say one more thing, and you guys, you fight me if you don't believe this, but I think you will. So, which is, if we really believe in a positively, constantly conspiring on your side universe, you're getting exactly the right number of auditions that is capable for you to handle in a given time. And if there is a desire for more, we get to say, "Ooh, that's interesting. What's that about?" Which I think would really align with what Nzinga's saying. Like, is that really me? Like, oh, I'm ready to play at a higher level. Like, I want to be in a room where it's a little more intense, or like, or be putting something on self-tape where I feel that extra jolt of energy because, like, oh my God, I really care about this. Or am I coming at it from like, what, like, I'm like, I'm nodding my head back and forth. I'm being a pissed off person. I don't know. I'm trying to show you like a pissed off person who's like tight, right? Tight and like trying to grasp it. Right. And so I just think that if we can believe that we're given exactly what we're capable of accomplishing, I think it really points to what Shannon said earlier. Is like, sometimes our lives are not set up to be able to hold the capacity for either the audition or the size of the role. And like, that is some good freaking knowledge to take. And what do you then do with it? Right. And that's why I think, hopefully having a conversation like this with somebody will help you. Thank you guys. I learned a lot just now. I really appreciate that. Anybody have anything else they want to say before I move on to our next little topic here? Okay, cool. All right. So I want to move another direction. I want to talk about like where we're going a little bit, like what's coming up. Right. And so, let's talk about like habits and action steps. And for my mindset coaches out here, I know you have habits to keep people in their right mindset. So this is not just about to-do items. I want to make sure you're hearing me say that. I want to encourage you to really take this for what it is. So I'm thinking about, what is one habit or action that you've maybe discovered in the past 6 months that you'll continue to do as it relates to the business and this art form? One habit that you've noticed, or that like you picked up from the past. Sometimes I find a habit, oh, that's an old habit of mine that like it's coming back for me to use again. Like that's what I've noticed. So I'll just tell you guys one that I'm using right now, which is, so I work out in the morning, and the morning is the safest time for me to not be interrupted, because at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, oh, babe, you want to go for a walk with the dog instead, and now it's time for dinner, and then it doesn't happen, right? So so my morning is a time that, like, I want to say it's sacred. It's more like it's the McDonald's of sacred time. Like if I put it there, it's probably going to happen. Like it's not that hard to figure out. Like it's like the fast food of sacred. I don't have to work too hard to make it sacred, is what I'm trying to say. Like it's there. It's fast food sacred, right? So like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that would be like Michelin star hard sacred time, because I'd have to stop everything I'm doing. But in the morning we can do it, right? So I will go from working out straight to a coffee shop with my laptop and work on that creative project that has nothing to do with my business, that has nothing to do with anything that I'm doing in the work that I do, because that to-do list will come to me so quickly as soon as I get in front of my computer and out of my house and like not allowed to open any other tabs. And it's just an old habit that I feel like I'm bringing back, because that used to be that you know, when I lived in New York City and I was an actor, great. You've got 10 minutes to sit down at Starbucks between your 2 auditions. Let's send 3 emails to these people. Like you use that time. Like, so you got the 10 minutes, you got to get that work right. That was like, and this is before we all had phones in our hand too. But like that habit is just like coming back for me to delight in some of the, like, delight in the ease of that sacredness of that time. Like everything doesn't have to be hard, I guess, is the way that habit kind of shows up for me. I'll pass it off. Who wants to take this?
I'll go.
All right, go, Wendy.
Yeah. Well, I want to offer up like a professional one and a personal one, but I'll start with the professional just for actors, like coming back out of whatever it is. Just on a self-tape level, I just want to encourage everyone to stop doing so many takes. Okay. Because truly, look, as a working actress, like you are hired to deliver on the first take on set. That's what you're hired to do. And so you want to prepare like a pro, even in the comfort of your own home. And I know when the pandemic first started, it's real easy to start doing 20 takes. And now you're like looking at 20, like it's just too much. And you're never, it's a really bad habit. You will never get that many takes on a high-end job that you all want, right? And it just won't serve you on the set to be doing 20 takes. So maybe, you know, you do 2 takes or 3 takes of the scene when you get the job before they move on, like they have moved on. So that's like a super practical sort of stop doing so many takes. And what it also does is it helps you, and this will help you like in general, but to start trusting your intuition. I think as an actor, it's like, go back to I just did a self-tape in my garage literally before we got on this. And it's like, what do I just bring to this that I know is it just drop into what if you are just enough and you just did the scene and you know you've done it's really about you do your prep, you commit, you play, and then you send it, right? We did 3 takes, edit it, gone, done, whatever, throw on some lashes. And now I'm here. Didn't wear the lashes in the scene because it wasn't required for the character. That wasn't it. But
wait, you put them on for us? I love it.
I did. I totally did. I had an hour. I'm like, I'm
gonna
put on a little extra lashes for Brian and the girls and guys and everyone here. Personally, I don't know why I like added that in. I thought I'd tell you guys. Personally, I would say plan more fun. Whether it's like trips or even gatherings with friends or hikes or beach days, it doesn't have to cost money. I think it's a really necessary part of like our creative journey, right? And I know for me and maybe some people listening, like some of us literally have to schedule it in or we won't stop being productive, right? I know I'm a recovering type A doer. So, you know, I just want to remind everyone like rest and play is so productive. It's more productive than you trying to make more happen from a place of exhaustion. So I think anything that's getting you back, and a lot of us are talking about it today, of alignment of like what lights you up, what brings you joy. And in the pandemic, a lot of people were like, I love baking bread. And so now they're all baking bread, whatever it is, it can actually serve you as an actor because you come back refueled and recharged. So, and as Brian says, sort of on the workout thing, if it's not scheduled, it's not going to happen. So I'm all for like the schedulers, like put it on the calendar, do it. And then when you get a self-tape, don't do so many takes and then go back to playing and having fun. Yeah.
I love it. Oh, what about you, Nzinga? What do you have to say here?
Yeah, thanks so much. I love all of what you said, Wendy, right? My mom used, are you having fun? Or you make sure you hang with your friends? I'm like, okay, Mom. Yeah. So to piggyback on that, one of the things that I actually teach my clients, and one of the things that I practice in my own life is the 1 thing strategy, right? I can't tell you how many actors I talk to who are in a state of overwhelm or beyond that and burnout, and they don't know why. And I said, well, how many things are you doing? And one girl, 9 projects? You have 9, right? No wonder you feel like you don't know how you're going to get through the end of the day because you have way too much on your plate. So the habit that I am continually encouraging myself, right? Because I'm an actor, I'm a business owner, entrepreneur, right? I have a partner, which gives me responsibilities. I have my pets, right? Is the 1 thing strategy. It's doing 1 thing until you successfully complete it. Put all of your energy, all get all the ducks in a row, and then move on to the next thing.
Go away. Quit talking. Stop it. I can't hear this. Stop it. I'm mad at you. Stop it. Because this is exactly what I need to think about every day, and I'm mad. I'm just mad.
If I don't consciously override, because I'm like, oh my God, another course to sign up. No, don't sign up for that course, Nzinga. Stop it. Right? I have to do it every day. It's like, no, you cannot take that on. These are our assignments. You understand it, stick to it.
Wait, Nzinga, can I say that in the computer does not help you, and neither does your phone.
That's it.
Because you can have multiple apps open. You can have all those tabs across the top.
Yep.
That is the devil. That is the
Don't
devil.
call me out, Brian. Don't call me out.
And that was the thing Tony was saying, say no to it, right? So when you understand what the goal is that you're working for today, you're allowed to say no to anything else that doesn't align or move you toward that. And before Shonda Rhimes had her year of yes, had many years of no.
Wait, that name of that book makes me crazy because I go, wait, be careful. We need to have a lot of no's before we say yes to everything. People.
Her big no was 7 p.m. She's the showrunner of 3 shows playing consecutively. Her 7 p.m. no email. I checked no email after 7 p.m. That is a big no.
Oh, look at the face.
I mean, that is a big boundary.
Yes.
Yes, totally.
I have no fires. I'm not putting out any fires. I don't care. I'll see you in the morning.
Get it together, people. Yeah.
So it is okay to say no.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Amy, I saw your little finger go up. What did you want to add?
My little finger. So I think my favorite habit of late that has come about in the last 6 months, it's daydreaming tangibly. So occasionally I will, so an artist date day, right? Like from The Artist's Way, which I've only read the intro to, but they talk about artist dates. So nailed it.
That's saying something. That's saying something. We're not going to know what that says, but it says
we're going to let that be in my own coaching session with myself. So an artist date, right, is when you go out on your own and you get inspired and kind of exist in the land of inspiration. But one of the pieces of that for me is I will drive to the studios that I want to work at and I'll kind of take them in. Now, I know gas is expensive right now, so that might not be possible. I'm very lucky that I live pretty close to 2 of the ones that I want to work at, but I get really inspired by the Warner Brothers water tower and I get really inspired by the Disney animation building. They have a big old hat. So, I think that there's something to be said for, if you live in New York, get on the train, go to a Broadway theater in the middle of the day and pretend like you're going to rehearsal. Just go touch the building if you want, get tangible, and then go to a coffee shop and journal about how you're going to work there at some point soon. And I think the only thing to be aware of is if it starts to feel like desperate or like icky, where you're like, oh, why don't I have that? Then it's not working. Yeah. Like it's gotta be that feeling of like, oh yeah, that's coming to me. I'm going to get to do that someday soon. It's sooner than I think. Right. So to me, I've been like, I've been driving to Warner Brothers and there's like, I just go and sit and I like look at the big billboard of Friends and Big Bang Theory and the water tower. And I nerd out for like 15 minutes and then go to a coffee shop and journal. And it's honestly the best. It feels really good. And it makes it feel, like tactile, it makes it feel more possible. So
I love that. It also makes you feel like you can vibrate at that frequency. It's like if they have it, I can vibrate at that frequency. That's what I can occupy that space. I think that's so cool. Yeah. Jody, what about you?
Oh, I'm glad you called on me because I love what you just said, Amy. That really resonated about like stepping into the place where you want to be with a sense of belonging. I think even in my own life and career, I've always felt like I never belonged. That was part of my journey and story. So it's my whole career has been about stepping into my power and stepping into series regular status, stepping into what I want to manifest for myself. And I love what you said. And some habit that I've formed just personally the past probably 5-6 months is being creative every day. And like, I am going to be a series regular. That is part of my trajectory. I know this to be true. So I better be working on text every day. I better be working on scenes every day, and acting for the sake of acting is sort of what we're talking about, and making sure my instrument is always open. And for such a long time, I got so just sucked into building my business and helping other actors, especially during the past 2 years. My God, I put blinders on and was just like, I'm going to step up and help everybody because everybody needs help, and really forgot about my own creativity, which fuels me, my why. I forgot about my own why, God damn it. So really for me, it's been just doing a lot of exercises to get back into my creativity and letting my instrument be open every day, whatever that may be. So that's been a new habit. And honestly, that's been really, I'm all about business and mindset and everything. And I'm like, be creative, which is like nothing I would ever say. I am not a recovering type A doer. I'm still a type A doer. So this has like been really challenging for me these 5 months, but it's really shifted my auditions. Like speaking to Wendy, like I did an audition last night. I had one scene I did in 3 takes, one scene I did in 1 take. And I was like, done, recurring guest star in a show, and felt great about it.
Yes.
Because I'm allowing thank you. I'm allowing my instrument to be ready, because we get to be ready, right? We're talking about mindset and business and all of this, but we also make sure our craft is great and golden to go. That's a big part of it.
And Jody, what you just said, if I can just want to make sure everyone heard what you said, is like, I did it in 3 takes. I did the other one take. And the way you described the way you felt, that is a great goal instead of getting more auditions. I want to feel that way when I put the auditions on tape that I do have. I want to feel like I contributed to, like, anyone who watches that tape knows who Jody is, knows what she can bring to it. And if that's not the color they're looking for that day, that's not the flavor they're looking for, they got everything that Jody can offer in that storyline. And they go, oh, great. Whoa, well, next time, or this time, or whatever it is that they can, like, that be your new goal, just is so much more. I just saw watch this on YouTube, y'all, because Jody's reaction in her body was a gift to us.
Thank you. But I love that. It's how you want to feel. And the other habit that I've started doing again, which is what I was doing pre-pandemic, was doing 2-3 coffee meetings a month with people and getting back into doing that. And it's been so joyous to connect with people. And even like I went to coffee with a director the other day who I've known. I auditioned for his film and he didn't cast me a couple of years ago. And we went out for coffee and he was like, oh, I have another film coming on the pike. I'm going to give you this role in it. I was like, great. Like, it was just like, okay, this is what happens when you actually
offer
reach out
only
to people.
realness. We want offer only realness. That's what we want. Yes.
Exactly. So go to coffee meetings and you'll get offers. That's what I'm telling you.
Well, also,
I just want
Jody, one thing technology that Jody's tapping into that I think is in the zeitgeist of everyone right now, people do want to see other people and connect. Yes. I know we all have different levels of safety that we all need to be aware of course, but I just want to say many a person has said, I need to be with a person. I need to see a person. So even Jody asking that person for a coffee where we may feel like, oh my God, I don't want to annoy them or ask them to do something, like that person is probably feeling just as delighted to be like, oh, let me do something. You know what? I'm having a harder time getting back into my habit of getting out of the house. That's a great idea. I'm going to say yes to this coffee with Jody because that's part of who I'm wanting to be right now. And Jody giving someone the opportunity to be who they want to be. So I have to remember that that's part of what also is in that space. Tony, I saw you nodding your head. Do you want to chime in here?
Yeah, well, I'm nodding my head now, but up until this point, I was kind of shrinking a little bit for any of you watching this on YouTube, because as I'm thinking about, habits, I got all the things to talk about with habits, but I got to start by calling myself out, because we're talking about these things that bring us joy. And as of late, I haven't been making as much time for those because I had areas of my life, particularly in the finance area and the business area, that I was neglecting for so long, that now I'm in a season. And Amy, you and I were DMing about this, how we're in a season of, oh shoot, I got to put in a lot of work right now. And in doing so, kind of alluding to something we were saying earlier, it's very easy to just not put it on the calendar and just not make time for it at all. So that's something I want to say as somebody who teaches this stuff on how to be a happier person. I'm a little guilty of not following my own words as of late, and that's not something I'm proud to share. So I got to start by saying that. As far as the habits go, I mean, I believe at the foundation of our mindset is the content we consume and the content that we stop consuming. And a habit that I have built over the past few months is I'm great with the self-help podcasts and the acting podcasts and the books and the positive YouTube videos. I got those all day. But up until recently, I was like, Tony, you're always complaining about finances. What are you doing to improve your mindset on finances? So now I have It's gotten to be about 5 to 7 different categories of content that I consume. And sometimes we're talking about 20 minutes per category. It doesn't have to be like 2 hours per category, but particularly in health.
Tony, you sound like a total overachiever. I just want to just throw you're like, it might just be 20 minutes. And we're all like, you are an overachiever. What is happening over there?
Categories.
I've only read the intro
like
to Artist Way.
That's what I was doing. That's the math I was doing. It's like, no, yeah. Okay.
That's a lot.
So for context, this is a habit I have built over the past 5 or 6 years. So it didn't start with all these different categories, but also to further explain it, my job that I work 25 hours a week is data entry, where I'm copying, pasting. I can listen to so much damn content. So we'll see if I talk a big game once I'm out of the job. So I got to do that.
Got it. But Tony, I'm just going to, this is, you didn't even mean to contribute this, but I just want everyone to notice that I think it's really important. Shannon tapped into this earlier, and I didn't know this was going to be a theme, but finding the job that does in some way not tap you is such a huge part of having a creative career, I think. And I think a lot of actors can start to identify with that other job because they're spending time there and because they're starting to care a little bit about it. And I just want everyone to have permission, like, you're allowed to care about being a good server. You're allowed to care about being a good person in that temp job or that office or wherever it is, or that person you're assisting. You're allowed to care about it and it not take away from your acting career. There's a different mindset shift that's needed to say, this isn't all that I am. And I think because we get that feedback loop in a job where I put effort in, I get a result. I put effort in, I get a result. And sometimes that's missing from the acting world, that can feel like a loop that never ends. And so that loop, because it's an incomplete loop, this loop is like, well, then I must not be doing the right thing because over here, when I do it, it works out perfectly. So you have to just really relate to them with a different mind. Again, are you Van Gogh painting to paint? Or are you Van Gogh painting to be hung in the museum? That's two different versions of the same person, right? So you kind of like noticing that piece. So I appreciated you kind of bringing that up one more time in a different way. Yeah. Shannon, did you get a chance to talk about this?
Not yet.
Okay. I'd love to hear what your contribution is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think something I've been working on the last few months is I am naturally more of a feminine energy. It's actually easy for me to quiet my mind, to surrender, to tap into my intuition. What I have a hard time with is taking action. I don't have a lot of that hustle. I don't have a lot of that masculine energy in me. And so I think something that I've been trying to implement is discipline. Because it's not the fear that's stopping me, it's the discipline. Fear is always going to be there. Limiting beliefs are always going to be there. That's never going to go away, no matter how much mindset work that I do. And I even feel that fear is the invitation to up level. But the only way I can do that is adding a little bit of discipline in and moving with that.
Can you give us an example of how you give yourself discipline? Because we all hear the word discipline and we all go, ooh, rulers. Sure.
Yeah. And that's another thing I'm doing is I'm seeing discipline as a tool. Like it's not something that's scary to me. It feels that it's something that sometimes I just need a little extra push. For instance, I was on vacation last week. Yesterday we got home and I was like, okay, I have a little bit of vacation blues. I could sit here and throw sweatpants on and, leave the laundry and just kind of like go through my day. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put a cute dress on. I'm going to put makeup on. I'm going to wake up a little bit earlier. And so I think it's just deciding to go a little bit further. So it can look as simple or as big as you want it to be. But I think for me, it's just like letting that inner critic get a little bit loud some days, just kind of managing that. Some days I need it to be a little bit softer, but I know because I am naturally more of this gentle, like, you should rest, you should just trust your intuition on this. I know that I actually welcome the louder voice in my head to be like, no, let's push a little bit harder today, show up on stories today, put out some sales emails today. So I think it's just giving myself a kind, gentle push.
Yeah. And what I hear you relating to this, Shannon, is just relating to that part of you, not with a like, it's not slapping you on the back or whipping you or like, it's like, oh, there's that reminder. I don't have to beat myself up for that reminder, but and it relates a lot to what I thought what Nzinga said, which was like, one thing is a form of discipline. I'm going to not open 65 tabs on my computer. I got this one thing I'm doing. That's another form of like, I'm going to
totally,
I'll just share this with you guys. Maybe this is embarrassing, but I realized that every night before I go, like, I'm in my office. Across the way from it is our bedroom, my partner and I, right? And every night he's like, are you coming to bed or what? And like, if this room this is the room where, I do my business. It's also the room where I get dressed. Like this is where my closet is. And so if this room is messy, I can't. I have to, because I need to be able to come in the morning and delight my morning self. And one of the ways that I kind of relate to self-care, which I think is in the world of habits, is how can I delight myself? And that is to come in this room and have it looking nice is a delight to me. There was a candle burning in here today. So looking for places to delight myself often makes me feel just a little more engaged, I guess. Mm-hmm. It's weirdly, I think of it almost as I am an extrovert to myself. I'm lighting this candle for me, because it's going to keep me company. And it's this other part, it's being an extrovert inside of myself, right? Yeah, perfect. So keeping this conversation around habits going on, Jody, you wanted to share something. Go ahead, go for it.
Yes, I will be your discipline, Shannon, if you will be my gentle female nurturer.
I got you.
I got enough masculine energy in here to help. So
that's so funny, because like I mentioned at the top of this podcast was I get your emails all the time, and I'm like, oh, another Jody email. I'm not doing enough. I need that.
Oh my God, dying.
Well, right. I need you to tell me to slow down. So, and cuddle with my dog. So we'll chat later.
What I want to just offer one more piece that for everybody I think will help is tap into your own technology. Notice yourself. My rhythms are that by about 4:00, I can get real cranky in my day. And it's probably because I needed a nap, because we live in a capitalist society where you work 8 hours a day and you really should work about 3. So let's just clock that without getting too, well, that's a conversation for a different podcast, right? But a different strength arises usually. It's a really fun time for me to say, let's look at some graphic design and dick around with that for a little while, instead of try to work on words because my brain's not ready for words, or let's actually go for a walk with the dog, or eat 5 grapes from the refrigerator, which is usually what happens. And so I find that the afternoon is the water cooler moment I normally have in an office, right, is needed, and my energy just changes. So when I say tap into your own technology, that is notice when you feel I'm really in my strength. And that can either be a timing rhythm, it can be a food rhythm, it can be a where you are, the environment you're in rhythm. I work better in a coffee shop when I'm doing this kind of work. And because I think a lot of times shoulds can come up when it comes to habits. The habit should look like this. However, screw that. It should look like whatever it does for you to make it get it done, right? All right, so question for the group. And this is totally selfish because I want to know. And Tony may have already spilled on this. What can you share, either the places that you go for inspiration as a coach, either that's a podcast or a book or a blog, just one place, because this can become we can talk forever. So pick one place, your juiciest one. If I was to give you a gift of an hour and say, you get to go spend time with this resource being inspired, what comes up for you? And Shannon's already laughing, so I'm coming to you first.
Probably not the answer you're going to expect, but my mom, I call my mom every day. They're on the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast. And I get off those calls and I'm like, I can do anything today. She is my biggest, my hype woman. She's always reminding me of all the good that's going on in my life. She's the reason I even got into spirituality and intuition at such a young age. That is my go-to forever and always.
I love it. I love that. Jody, what about you?
I'm just jealous of Shannon right now. So I'm just going to sit in my jealousy for a second. And I want Nzinga's family to adopt me. So there we are. For me, when I do have time to listen to stuff, and I was kind of sad about not being able to drive anywhere or go anywhere during the pandemic, because the only time I listened to things was audiobooks in my car.
Yes.
And I don't listen to them in the house. I just, it doesn't seem right. I don't know. But Brene
totally
Brown.
It totally doesn't seem right. I just want to acknowledge it doesn't seem right. What am I doing with the audiobook on in the house? But someone might come in and need to talk to me. I don't know.
Right. It's just
who's coming in.
And I will try to multitask, and then I'm not doing anything. I can't. So it has to be in the car. But Brene Brown, I love Brene Brown. I love listening to her.
People,
right?
Yes,
There you go.
I'm just holding up Atlas of the Heart, everybody. Yeah.
Vulnerability is just that took me a while to learn as a coach. Is that my vulnerability was my strength, and my vulnerability allows other people to open and learn more. So Brene Brown, hands down.
Awesome. What about you, Nzinga?
All right. Really corny, but I drink my water. All about habit stacking, right? I drink my water as soon as I get up, because if I don't drink it right then, it's not getting drank for probably till the end of the day. I go into my bathroom. I literally turn on Dallas's podcast, Coaches on a Mission. Something was not, I was like, and I literally turn that on, and my like coaching cape comes on. I'm like, Superwoman, she's ready to go. I'm like body brushing, listening to Dallas, and something clicks. I get into some place in my mind where I know I can figure everything is figure outable, right? Which is one of her Dallas isms. And when I don't do it, that super cape isn't on, and I just use it, and it can be 5 minutes, right? I'm not body brushing for a long time, but I just need to hear her voice. I just need to hear her in the groove, and I'm right there.
Wait. Two things. First of all, for those of you who don't know, Dallas Travers is a coach that a few of us work with, and she's been on this podcast actually. And her podcast is called Coaches on a Mission. So if you are a coach who's listening, please be inspired and go have a listen. But also, we have to talk about body brushing, please. Do I need to be doing this? Like, I'm obsessed with all things skin fabulous.
Yes, because it's a natural way to detox. Your skin is your biggest organ. Right. And so you're actually working the lymphatic system, right? So if you work out, that poison needs to get out. And this is really a way to introduce some movement and wake up yourself at a cellular level. So yes, you have to do
YouTube.
it.
Okay. And Google.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm going to send you a body brush.
Okay. I'm into it. I can't wait. Wendy, what about you? What do you want to contribute? What's your big?
Yeah, I love that. I have been rereading some classic favorites. The late great Wayne Dyer's book, Wishes Fulfilled, is on my desk. And the quote from it just lately that he reminds us, and it actually goes in line with what Amy was saying about going to Warner Brothers, or, going to the place and how you would feel there. He says, make your future dream a present fact by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And the book is all about how to do that. And, it's very much in alignment with what we're talking about with auditions and everything with actors today. It's like the energy of wanting something and the energy of having something are very different energies. And so if you can learn how to shift into the having without seeing it yet, it's a really powerful way to be. So
I love that. Tony,
and I'm rereading it because I need it all the time.
Tony, how about you?
So, I mean, anybody who knows me knows that and I already alluded to this earlier, that I'm a content junkie, that I'm always have a podcast, a YouTube video, an audiobook that I'm listening to, consuming. But if I need that to me is like brushing my teeth. If I need inspiration, I'll go to those things. But if I want to do something different, I want to switch things up a little bit, I'm going to go to a baseball stadium. I am such a baseball nut. Up until I realized I was going to be an actor, I thought I was going to be a baseball player, which is hilarious because I could not play baseball to save my life. But I love going to baseball stadiums. I live right near Wendy, you'll appreciate this. I live right near Wrigley Field. And and so I like see the players walking into the ballpark. I see the media. I see people with the Cubs badges who work for the stadium. And I just get so inspired by the grandeur of it. And even going to minor league baseball stadiums and seeing the players who are like working so hard to get there. It's just, it's all really inspiring to me, and is kind of connected to the journeys we're on to get to like that biggest stage, so to speak.
I love that. And I love it because I think that we sometimes think we have to eke inspiration from things that are adjacent or right next to exactly what we are doing. And so often I find that, like looking at art and being a singer can be the inspiration for the singers. Looking at paintings or whatever, like the different things can inspire it. Yeah. Amy, how about you?
Well, Brene Brown was my first answer. I think Atlas of the Heart, for the listeners who don't know what it is, like it goes through like 87 of our emotions and like just what they are and the language for them. And so I read about an emotion every morning. So like I will do a journaling thing. I sit outside and is another habit, but I journal and I read about one emotion and try to like take it in. And I usually take a note on my phone of like, how does this help actors specifically? Like, how does this impact the way that we see things or how we work? And then usually that ends up bleeding into my coaching for the day, like with my clients, because it's just like what I'm thinking about that morning. And then as I mentioned, like I go get inspired by wasting gas and driving to studios. And then the other thing I thought of, because it happened yesterday, was like it's so funny because, my current like one goal thing is voiceover. But I get really inspired by Top Gun, by the movies. Like I went and saw Top Gun for the 3rd time yesterday. It's fine. Everybody, I'm fine.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Again, another
Are
coaching
you obsessed
session.
with Miles Teller?
Not even a little.
Oh,
No.
I mean, I thought that was a highlight. I mean,
No.
I wasn't.
No, I'm there for many, many reasons. Okay. But no, I'm just kidding. So I saw that movie, and I think that part of what inspires me from it is how committed Tom Cruise is to doing things the way he wants to do them. He's got his own stuff, but like, I find it really interesting and intriguing that he's like, no, I want to do this stuff because it brings me joy. Like I make movies because I love it. I do my stunts because I love it. And I want to go all the way and I want to protect the other. Like, I just find that inspiring, and that these actors jumped in and learned how to do this stuff. Like, to me, that is so inspiring to be committed to an experience. And I really love any piece of art that creates an ensemble of people who've gone through something really beautiful and intense together. So yeah, I get inspired by things like that. So inspiration is everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have the dorkiest one of the world. I mean, on the first, I will say on the first, when we did the survival guide at the beginning of the year, I said the New York Times, and my inspiration right now is NPR. I mean, I'm the biggest dork about it. Let me explain a little bit why. So I was not in debate club in high school, but I've subsequently figured out, like, what is debate? You have to fight both sides of the angle or whatever it is, right? And one of the things that I love about NPR is it's almost always investigative of some point, or sharing a story of human connection, right? And so to me, so much of the work that I do with actors, and you guys will say the same, is communication, connection, making sure that you are being heard at the level you want to be heard, and that they are being heard and seen at the level so that you're really dealing with the individual in front of you, right? And so I think journalism at its best is even and fair and factual, and really looking at it from all the different angles. And I'm a person who loves language. And so hearing terms of phrase that they're using, again, on NPR and in New York Times, it just helps me find more tools to be able to bring to the conversations that I have. So that's where the inspiration comes from me, is having, like, I realize, like, turns of phrases that I'm like suddenly using, I'll find myself saying, like, oh, I think I heard that on NPR, right? And it just gives me, I think, more facility to show up. And so I think that's where that comes from for
Love
me.
that. That's cool.
Yeah. So looking at the year ahead, I want you to share with us and kind of just give us, you can make this as simple as you can. What is one thing that you hope we see in this business between now and the end of the year? I'll give everyone a second to just be with that question for a second. I'm going to share what I think. I'm going to share it to just get us started, okay? Because I think that's fair, because it's not that easy of a question. It's a big ask, people. It is a big ask what I have that I want to see. I want to see actors be delightedly, deliciously, inspiredly loving an at-home audition in the same way that they love going in person. And that's not something that I teach or something, but that is my wish. I guess my desire between now and the end of the year is more of a wish, I would say, right? Is that we can find that joy, that can find that desire connection. And many actors might already feel that, but I find so many actors that I speak to will say, like, I'm missing that. And part of that is being on a connection diet, I think, after the past few years, right? But I want that kind of joy that Jody kind of talked about, putting those things on tape, like to have every actor feel that sense, and like have it be like, that's in the bag. What's the new conversation? Like that conversation is one where we have achieved some level of facility and joy that lets that be the thing that we don't, it's not a wrestle anymore. The longing for something that used to be, I guess, is kind of what I'm hoping people can be free from. And Zinga, you want to start us off?
Love to. Love that, Brian. Thank you so much. My vision is to see actors move out of a state of overwhelm, right? Because modern man's Achilles heel right now is overwhelm. We've replaced flight, fight, fear, freeze to being in a state of overwhelm. So I want to see actors moving out of a state of overwhelm to a place where they know their career is going to work out regardless, whether they're auditioning, booking, on a vacation, right? I want them to live full lives and not feel like they can only just do this one thing and then do 20 of those things, right? So that's my hope.
I love it. Tony, I see that peace sign you're holding up for me.
I want to piggyback off what Nzinga said, because to elaborate off of what I said before about saying no, I don't want actors just to say no for the sake of saying no. I want actors to say no so that they can use that space for other things that have nothing to do with acting that bring them joy. A couple of you know this story already, but earlier this year, I booked out with my reps for 2 months. I sublet my studio apartment so that I could live rent-free for a couple months. And I came back to live with mom and dad for a little bit. And I also knew I would get to see a lot of family. What I didn't know was that during that time, my grandma was gonna basically get ready to pass away. And I got to spend so much time with her that I wouldn't have had if I hadn't said no to acting for a little bit. Now, I had specific reasons for saying no to acting, but I am just so grateful that I had that time. And I think that we forget just how much that really makes us happy, that we think the auditions, that those more auditions we were talking about are gonna make us feel. All of these other areas of our lives can make us feel that same way if we allow the space for them. That's what I want to see more of.
I love that, Tony. I love that. Wendy, how about you?
2 things. I think for actors, it's kind of my whole bag, and it's what Nzinga said too. I want actors to this year to learn to love their lives, whether they're booking or not. To feel like they can go home for the holidays, and when family asks, like, how's it going? They can say, my life's great. I audition and I do this, and this is really cool, and this other activity I do is awesome. I would just love for more actors to just love their lives holistically. For the industry, this is a big ask. I would love to see the generosity that we in in March 2020 come back. Like, I think that not in the same like moment, but I think, I think in that moment in time, everybody had a lot of time and everybody was scared and everybody was like, how do we help each other? And I loved that. And I think I would love to see that kind of sprinkled across the industry just going forward. I think that is inclusive of like casting being available and reps making opportunities for actors that they haven't seen before, and diversity across the board in all genres. But I also would love for actors to remember that they have something to offer. Like, I saw actors like leading meditations and teaching dance classes and like offering singing lessons and whatever. Like, I just would love to see that that tangible generosity come back, because holy shit, like, we never all felt so down and then so comforted in the same like 48-hour period. And as terrifying as that moment was, it was also really encouraging to see, I don't know, everybody lift each other up like the weird theater kids we are, like the cast coming together and being like, we're going to dinner, like I just, I loved that so much. And I would love to see more of that generosity of talent and skill and opportunity available across the board.
I love it. I love that so much, Amy. Thank you. I think we all resonate with that. And you kind of teed me up for what's next, which is I would love. So first of all, I want to make sure everyone knows how grateful I am for all of you being here today. This was selfishly, this was a really fun conversation for me. So I'm just so glad I got to spend this time with you and get to know you better. And hopefully everyone listening got a chance to know you a little bit better. And so I wanted to give you a chance to leave our audience with something today. We will link to all of it inside of the Actor Survival Guide. So if you head over to actorsurvivalguide.com, all the goodies that we have to share with you and how to get in touch with all of these incredible coaches will be there. But I'm going to get each of you the mic real quick to just share with us what is there. And Tony, what is it what are people going to find there when they come look at your name in the survival guide? By the way, the survival guide is really freaking cute, people. It is designed after the Farmer's Almanac. And so it was full inspiration, like hired an artist to make it look like the Farmer's Almanac. I'm very into it. So if only to see it, go to actorsurvivalguide.com and get it. Okay. So go ahead, Tony, what we're going to say. What can they find from yours? Yeah.
I love it. So they are going to find something brand new. I'm going to be completely transparent. It's not done yet, but this has been something that I've had in the works for a while.
Right.
But I've been harping on content consumption. And so in an effort to make actors more conscious of the content they are consuming, I have a free audio about why you're so stressed AF, as well as what you can do about it. It might have a different title than what I just said, because like I said, it's brand new. But you will have an audio from me.
Right.
Yes.
Great. Wendy, how about you?
So I have two, excuse me, I have two gifts for actors. One's to help you book more jobs, And because you'll be booking more jobs, one's to help you shine in every role. So super quick. One is the self-tape success checklist. It's literally like an 8-point-1-page checklist to just help you quickly eliminate all that overwhelm and focus on delivering your best auditions. And it's 1 page. Actors print it out and they tape it up wherever they self-tape, and they use it and they start booking. And since they started booking, I created the Working Actors Media Checklist. It's a guide of 7 must-have moments to capture on every job. And it includes photo ideas and video script prompts to help you make the most of every project. And I realized this when I was working on This Is Us recently, like actors don't know how or when to promote the win and what pictures or videos to take and how to do it in a way that doesn't destroy the NDA they just signed. And so this checklist helps you to think like a publicist and then have the exact list of moments to capture. So when it airs, you have stuff to share.
So juicy. I love it, Wendy. How about you, Jody?
First, I just want to say I downloaded that media checklist from Wendy. It's the bomb. So
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Good.
It's so good.
I love
I talk a lot about what we can control and what we're in control of. So my gift is a free webinar that I have called Get the Acting Career You Want. And it's 5 proven steps to book more work, to be remembered. So it's really 5 tangible things that I teach all my clients to really get that career that you want and level up. So that's my gift.
Great. And if you guys have been inspired by the conversation we've had today, I just want you to notice that each of these things is going to help you make more real what we've talked about. So of course, I want you to be listening to this and feel inspired while you're in the car, on the subway, taking a walk, or doing the dishes, which Jody and I cannot do and listen to a podcast at the same time for some reason. I mean, it's just audiobooks. But our wish for you is that you make this more real for yourself, whether that's real of mind or real of action. So that's what this is all about. Shannon, what about you?
I have a free guide called 10 Ways an Actor Can Feel a Yes in Their Life. So this guide is there to help you shift out of lack, out of doubt, and help you see that there's abundance all around you, supporting you in your life.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And Amy, I think you're telling, I have a little bit, I think I know what you're telling us. What are you telling us to go today?
Well, it's so interesting, right? One of the things I love about this conversation is how honest everybody's been and vulnerable at times. And like my vulnerable moment is like, I don't have a freebie other than my podcast,
which is great.
But it's like one of those things where like Tony was saying, like, we have to make all this stuff. Right. And so the places that I share what I'm learning are the podcast, which will be coming back this year. Like there's one full season that you can listen to. That was about 1.5 years long because I was really committed in 2020. And then the other place to just keep up with like the stuff that I'm sharing is just on Instagram, just Actors Encouraged. Yep, that's where I'm at.
And we'll make sure that we link to your podcast and the Instagram account. So that's great. And Zinga, take us home. What's our final gift here?
Yes, I put together a free guide for stuck actors. It's 10 ultimate mindset secrets to next level your acting career. So these are like the most crucial must-know secrets from the world's most successful actors.
I love it. This is so great. You guys, I can't wait to go get all of these goodies. So I want to thank everyone for listening. I want to thank all of you for being here. And know that anyone who's listening, know that you have just heard someone who's really opened their heart and their mind and the stuff that they've learned over the years that they've been doing this, whether that's 20 years or 4 years or 4 months. I brought all these people together today. No one's been here for 4 months. No, you've all been here for months. That was just a good analogy for a moment. I brought these people together because I thought they would have a conversation that brought new light on what the years looked like and where we're headed. And so I just want to thank you all for being here. And I hope that if you're inspired and you're listening right now, you will go out and take action. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yay.
Thank you.
This was